$35 you can spend.
I don't.
Do you not?
Good
I
evening.
don't.
Well, I do.
William
Everybody,
class.
how's everybody doing?
Good evening.
Good evening, good evening. How's everybody?
Good.
Good.
Oh,
How are you?
Carol. How you doing, Carol? Sibia Khana,
Nice to see you.
my sister. Bill Murray's here. Wow. Hey, Bill, how you doing?
I'm doing great. How about yourself?
Thank the good Lord, everything is good. And Bev is
Good.
here. Wow, Bev is here. Great, great, great. We'll give it a few minutes until the appointed time, and then we'll get started.
Sounds good.
How's everybody enjoying the fall? Everybody except for my sister,
I love it.
who's in Phoenix, Arizona. How
Oh,
hot is it? How hot is it in Phoenix today?
You know, I really don't pay attention. I know we're a little cooler, but we're still definitely over 100, maybe 105. I don't even know.
dear.
You know, I'll start paying attention October to April.
Why is that? It drops down to 95?
Yeah, right. No, then it becomes beautiful. But at this point in time, it's just hot. And, you know, the pavement and just radiates it up. So it's, but, you know, I'm not complaining. I'm just making actual statements.
Yeah, I remember traveling out there
Oh.
for business to meet clients, and they just said, "Oh, it's a dry heat, kind of like sticking your head in the oven."
Not anymore. There's too many golf courses and other things, you know,
Yeah.
that are promoting the humidity. But it is still a beautiful place to be at other times. And even at this time of the year in air conditioning or driving around, it's beautiful in air conditioning.
Well, the northern part of the country, or state, is really amazing, really beautiful.
You mean like
Yeah, and I have not-
Flagstaff and all that?
I
Prescott.
moved from, right, Prescott, how they say it. I moved here only about 8.5 years ago. So even at that time, the building has been tremendous, but I'm not well versed in the entirety of Arizona and the diversity of Arizona. So need to
Yeah.
put that on the list of things to do.
The Native American artifacts in the area there is just absolutely incredible.
True.
Let me just check my phone to see if anybody's trying to get on. Usually people have issues. No passcode. Nobody needed a passcode to get on, right?
No.
No.
Hi.
Hi, who's that? Oh, Robin.
Hi.
Hi, Robin.
How are you?
Oh,
Hi,
you made
Robin.
it.
Hi. Hi, everybody.
Hey,
Hi, Susan.
Wow, gang's all
We'll
here.
just sit in. We'll just listen in. Okay, whatever you want to do.
Okay, give me a couple minutes because people are having trouble here logging on. I don't know why.
Recording in progress.
To make it stand out. You want to listen?
I'll listen.
Okay. What?
You can say hi.
Hi.
Say hello, everyone.
Hello, everybody. Hi.
Who's that deep voice?
Hi, this is Bev Sapp.
This is Beverly.
You don't look like Beverly. Beverly looks like Beverly. Who's next to Beverly?
Beverly's much prettier than
Oh,
her son, Michael.
Hey, Michael, how you doing?
I'm very well. How are you?
Thank God, very good. I'm glad glad you made it.
Yeah, I'm actually just getting mom kind of hooked up here with Zoom, and yeah, we're ready. We're ready to go.
Okay, so nobody needed a passcode, right?
no.
Oh.
No.
Hi, Carol.
Hey,
Thanks.
glad you made it.
You don't touch it.
Okay. Hi, Don. Oh, his name is Don.
Hey, Robin, who's with Robin?
My niece and nephew. Oh.
Brooklyn what? Can't see
Tony.
the t-shirt.
And
Hey,
Don.
Tony. Hey, Tony and Don.
Can't get it on the computer. Let's do it. All right, I know you said not to touch it.
That's okay.
Okay.
That's okay. We'll fix it.
Well,
You know, I wanted Robin to be able to.
Try again in a little while.
Oh, Deanna's here. Great. Oh, Lori's here. Okay, good. I was trying to figure out the passcode, but I guess there wasn't one.
I don't know.
Okay.
Where am I?
Her name will come up in the corner.
You know, I have a special Zoom account that allows me to smell whatever everybody's eating, and I think
Yeah.
that you guys are eating. I think you're eating
French fries.
Fuego Mundo sweet potato fries. Am I right?
Oh, my God. No, just frozen, just
Oh.
frozen.
Okay.
Sweet potato fries.
Yes, but not from Fuego Mundo.
No.
Forgive us for eating dinner.
Are we
No.
sharing food?
That's good.
You can have some if you want.
Susan, who's your guest?
This is
Susan?
Wade, this fellow I was telling you about. He's your admirer, Rabbi.
Oh, yeah.
Yes, and thank you for me to listen to you. I read everything I can that you write. You do great research and writing.
Thank you very much. What's your name?
Wade,
Wade, I'm very happy to make your acquaintance.
thank you, sir. Honor.
He's from Blairsville.
I'm going to be up there tomorrow.
Yes, sir. Going to try to be there with you.
All
But
right.
not tomorrow.
Oh, not tomorrow. Okay. All right, everybody, let's go. So it's obligatory, of course, to start with a joke. And given the fact that this course is called My God, there's a story about a Jewish couple who are devout atheists. And they live in a town where there's not any good public schools. So they want to send their little girl to the best private school they can find. And sure enough, it's a Catholic parochial school. Now, they have no problem with that whatsoever because they don't believe in God anyway. So they send their daughter to school, and she comes home after the first day, and the parents say, "So, sweetie, what did you learn in school today?" And she said, "Well, they taught us all about the Trinity." And the father got really upset. He said, "Let me make something really clear to you. There's only one God, and we don't believe in him." Okay, that's the joke.
Okay.
L'chaim.
Rabbi, I believe you do a better job researching and writing.
But I do telling jokes? Okay. All right, that's valuable feedback. Thank
He's a
you.
retired colonel.
So,
Wade.
so I would like to, oh, Cindy's here. Hi, Cindy. So I'd like to begin, for those of you who are not muted. If I don't see your face or you're muted, I will assume that either you're driving, so it's hard for you to communicate. But I would like to begin, since we have a new class and we have a lot of new people in this class, I'd like to begin with introductions of each one of you. I'll call you out. Could mention your name and where you're from and where you live now. And there's also an extra credit question, which you don't have to answer. And that is, what is the biggest question you have about God? And that's an extra credit question, so you don't have to answer it. So let's begin with Carol. Carol, tell us who you are and
I
where
was thinking, okay. Carol Olmec, and I live in Blue Ridge, Georgia.
All right, thank you very much, Carol. Sivia Khana. You have to unmute yourself, Sivia Khana. You have to unmute your, we have to be able to hear your voice because I don't think any of us are.
Hi,
Hi.
I live in Alpharetta. I'm originally from New York, and I'm really looking forward to this class.
All right, very well. Very good. Great to have you. Bill?
My name is Bill Murray. I live outside of Blairsville, Georgia, about 9 or 10 miles in the foothills of the Appalachians. And I keep wondering, and I go back and forth to this forever, and I know it's the free will and all that stuff. Why does God let all these really, really nasty things happen to us?
All right, that's one of the biggest questions ever, and we're actually going to be addressing that question not tonight, because tonight we're starting with some foundational building blocks, but we will be tackling this question head on. And I think that we'll all get a lot of value out of it. Thanks for the question, Bill. Ellen?
Hi all, I'm Ellen Cheriton. My maiden name is Hambourger, so you may from that know that I am Yonatan's older sister, which most people don't believe.
You don't
But
look
I live now in Arizona, in Phoenix, near Scottsdale. Yonatan and I were raised in Los Angeles, and my husband and I lived our adult life in Huntington Beach. So it's lovely to be with all of you, and I have never visited Georgia other than at the airport. So Yonatan and I keep, and Rivka Sarah, my beautiful sister-in-law, and I keep making plans, but somehow they fall through, yet to be scheduled again. A new question, and maybe it's superfluous, but I am certain that God hears my prayers, but I'm just kind of curious, how does God hear my prayers? Is it English? Is it spiritual? Is it vibrations? Is it, because I do not read or speak Hebrew, just how is it?
Well,
good.
you're lucky that God happens to speak all languages. So you're off the hook there, and we're going to be dealing with subjects right around what you're talking about. So stay tuned. Rivka Sarah, aka Robin Hyman, excuse me.
Hi, I'm Robin, and I live in LJ. I'm from New York originally, and I don't have any questions right now. And that's my nephew, and that's my niece.
Hi, everybody. Hi, everybody. All right, Susan and Wade, weigh in, please.
I'm Susan Berry. I'm in Mineral Bluff, and I too had the question that that Bill had, so I'll leave it to you to answer it.
Why do good things happen to rotten people? Is that your question?
Why are all these horrible things happening to good people, to decent people, to innocent?
Okay, be patient. We're going to get there.
Wait.
Beverly, it's great to have you on this call. How you doing, Beverly?
Thank you. Beverly Sapp, Bev Sapp from Blue Ridge, Georgia.
Wow, Blue Ridge is winning so far.
Yes, yeah. Good to be with all of you.
Likewise. Hi, Margot. When did you sneak on?
Because I'm sneaky. My name is Margot Kennery. I live in Macon, Georgia, and I grew up in New Jersey. And the reason why I'm in this class is I'm hoping to overcome my dislike for the anthropomorphism of God.
Whoa, that's a very big word.
Yeah, I don't know what it means. Yes.
Anthropomorphism is something that comes up a lot when speaking in theology, and that has to do with assigning human attributes to a deity in order to help us understand them. So when we say that God is angry or God's hand, et cetera, it doesn't mean literally. It's a metaphor for, of course, something that we can relate to. Very good, Margot. Hey, Cindy.
Hi, Yonatan. How are you?
Great. Baruch Hashem. How are you?
I'm okay. I'm Cindy Roth, and I've been struggling myself with some horrible things that have happened to me recently. And I'm wondering how, or if God can help me out and through this challenging time, I guess.
Well, God can, and there's no doubt that God will. And I'm sure I speak for everyone when I say I'm sorry that you're going through such tough times. But nonetheless, you will get through them, and you will be in a place where you'll not only win and conquer whatever your adversities are right now, but you'll be at a vantage point to see that it was all actually so purposeful and so excellent, which is not what you want to hear when you're in the middle of struggling, I understand. So thank you for sharing that, Cindy.
Thank you.
Lori and Glad.
Hello. Hi, well, I'm Lori. This is my mother, Glad.
I'm always glad.
I happen to be visiting my parents from Charleston. I just got in town.
And we just got home. That's why we're eating now.
Oh,
We
okay.
went to Roswell.
Ah,
And I have been trying to figure out how to have a relationship with God that doesn't feel fearful or superstitious. Many times when I hear you talk, Rabbi, I feel like you've got such a wonderful, loving relationship with God, and I don't have that right now. So I'm looking forward to having a deeper relationship.
thank you, Lori. Glad, you want to tell us about yourself?
Sure. I am Lori's mother. I'm also Jamie's mother, and Jamie and her daughter, Aiden, lost their dog today.
I'm sorry, Lulu went on to
yeah.
a better place, huh?
They had, yes, yeah.
I'm sorry. It's very hard to lose a pet.
Yeah, it's a very sad thing because
Yeah, for sure.
you don't realize how much of a difference she made in our lives
For sure.
till she's missing. So, yeah, that's my question would be probably how I can improve my relationship with God, even though I don't really want to.
Bravo. I like that one a lot. Thank you, Glad.
Thank you.
Hey, Brian, how you doing, Brian? You got to take yourself
I'm
off mute.
I got you. I'm doing well. Thank you. How are you?
Thank the good Lord, I'm great.
Amen. Amen.
So tell us about yourself, Brian.
Ooh, I live in Blue Ridge.
Another Blue Ridger.
Yes, we are Blue Ridge strong up here. Shalom to all. I grew up in actually Cornwall, New York, and joined the Air Force in '74 and traveled for about 20 years, and then retired, and then taught inner city schools in Savannah for another 24 years, and then I decided to come up here and enjoy the leaves.
Excellent. Dion, I'm going to assume that either you're driving or you're in a place that you can't talk. If I'm wrong, you can always unmute yourself, but otherwise I'm just going to move on. And Robin, the same with you. I'm going to assume that you're either driving or whatever the case may be. And
I have one other question, if I may.
no, you're only allowed one. I'm sorry.
Oh, sorry. I'll wait till next week.
Okay, Laura, go ahead. Glad.
Oh, it's Glad. I'm just wondering where Blue Ridge, Georgia is. Is it near Tennessee?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's near Tennessee.
Yeah. Hey.
We're near North Carolina too.
Yeah,
Is
we're
that
right.
right?
Yeah, we're right in tri-corner, Tennessee, North Carolina, and Blue Ridge, Fannin County.
That sounds very nice.
It is. Come visit.
Beautiful.
It really is
We
beautiful.
will. Yeah. Thank you.
You're welcome. I hope all your questions are so easy. Marlene, I don't know if you're driving or if you can participate or not, so I'm going to assume not, but if later you're able to, that would be great. All right, welcome everybody. For those of you, actually everybody does know me, so I don't think I need to introduce myself. Okay, good. Yeah, everybody actually knows me, so I don't have to give you all my shtick. All right, let's go. We all have questions about God, obviously. Who exactly is God? What is God like? Where does belief in God come from? If God knows what I'm going to do, then do I really have free choice? The free choice one is like, get that one every day of my life.
Yeah.
And maybe the biggest question of all, ready? How did God get M&Ms to melt in your mouth and not your hands? I never figured that one out. I still don't have the answer to it. No, seriously.
You never had sweaty palms, that's why.
Oh, okay. Thank you.
Well, the answer to that is actually that Snickers satisfies. That's why.
It's what? Snickers what?
Snickers satisfies.
Yeah, Snickers does satisfy. Thank you. By the way, this has nothing to do with anything, but certain candy bars like Snickers, they make them for kosher consumers. Not to say that the Snickers bar doesn't have a kosher symbol on it, but for those of us who are a little bit on the obsessive compulsive side, it's not kosher enough. So we need a higher kosher symbol, but Snickers won't do it. So of course, somebody went along and they knocked off the Snickers, and they recreated it. And instead of calling it a Snickers bar, they call it I just forgot what they call it. It's pretty funny. They call it instead of a Snicker, they call it a sneer bar. Anyway, it has nothing to do with anything. Okay, seriously, the biggest question really is, why does God allow evil into this world? And that seems to be the question that's on everybody's mind. In order to get to that question, we have to deal with some fundamentals, which we're going to do this evening. But suffice to say, many of us do have questions about God. Some of us don't have questions about God. Some of us are perfectly content living without even considering those questions. That doesn't make them bad or wrong or anything else. God created this world, which is the lowest of all the worlds. There are multiple worlds that God created in a hierarchy of worlds. Ours is the lowest. And as the lowest, it's the whole purpose of God's creation. He created everything above us for the purpose of this world. And he did it in such a way that he has, from our perspective, obscured himself. Now, he is not obscure at all. He's all around us. But it's like a father playing hide and seek with his children. He's hiding from us, which he's really not doing, but he's hiding from us, hoping we will find him. Nonetheless, one can deny God's existence and not even address God-type questions and live 120 years completely satisfied. So if somebody is on this call that's not a believer, I want to be very clear with you that you're not going to change your mind as a result of what we're talking about. You'll gain valuable information, but this is not a place to try to convince you of God's authenticity. So suffice to say, though, that the adage, there's no foxholes there's no
atheists.
Thank you very much. There's no foxholes and atheists. And for that matter, there's no atheists and foxholes. So here's what we do know. Judaism was started by the quintessential counter-culturist named Abraham. He was he broke all the rules. He was against everything that was going on in the world. There was the whole world on one side and there was Abraham on the other. And he's the one who reintroduced the belief in, hey, Phil.
Hi, Rabbi.
Welcome.
Thank you.
The novelty of Abraham is not that he was the first monotheist, because Abraham was not the first monotheist. Obviously, when God created the world, we started with Adam. Adam was a monotheist. All the original founding fathers and mothers, if you will, through the period of Enoch, for those of you who are familiar with biblical history, were monotheists. But that kind of morphed into polytheism, to idol worship over time. So when Abraham, in Abraham's day, in the times of Nimrod, polytheism, idol worship was the thing. There was nothing else other than worshiping idols, which is hard for us to relate to if we think about idols as stone and wood. But if we think about idols as places that we turn to in our lives, other than God, thinking that they're going to be some form of salvation, they're not. So in a way, we can say, in a subtle way, that those things that we quote unquote worship other than God are not true. They just aren't. But nonetheless, Abraham grappled a lot with the question about God. And that's really the basis, the starting out place of what we're going to be discussing, is looking at Abraham. So again, my purpose is not to change anybody's mind, but I really want to just hope that everybody's mind will open as a result of this. So let's talk. First of all, any questions, any comments so far? No?
No.
By the way, this is a very eclectic group we have tonight. We have Jews and Christians, probably in equal balance. And I'm really, really happy about that because one of my missions in life is to connect with Christians. And sorry, I'm just looking at the chat, and I'm not a good multitasker. So I'm really grateful that Christians are on this call because they have an awful lot to contribute. And I'm just really, really thrilled. So it's a real mixed, eclectic bag tonight. All right, so before we get going on, Marlene, did you have a question? Marlene? Oh, I see a hand up next to Marlene Heller.
Yeah, okay. Okay.
What's your name?
I don't know where we're at. Okay. Marlene, if you have something to say, just jump in anytime. I recommend that those of you who want to contribute or say anything, just start talking because I'm not good at looking at my screen and seeing all these little icons. It's very confusing for me. This is not my generation. Okay. So before we start asking questions about God, I think we need to ask some questions about ourselves. The first question being, why are we even looking for answers about God? Where does this need come from to need to know about God?
I think we all want to know where we're going, not only where we came from, but where we're going.
Very good. Bottom line is we try to make sense out of ourselves and out of the universe. And we feel a sense of meaning and connection by doing so. And by the way, there's been a lot of scientific research that talks about the God gene, that all of us, no matter what level of belief or the opposite of belief, we have a certain God gene within us. We are inclined as humans towards spirituality. And by the way, there's a study. Why don't we jump into the study on text 1? We have a psychologist named Lisa Miller who did research, not intentional research, but she did research on this God gene. She wrote a book called The Awakened Brain. So with that, oh, I'm sorry, one housekeeping thing. If you didn't buy a textbook, which I hope you didn't because they're $40 on Amazon, you can, I sent you each a link. You can copy, you can either read from the screen or you can copy out chapter by chapter every week, which I recommend you do, which will be much more economical than giving $40 to Amazon. But nonetheless, whoever does have a book, who would like to read text number 1, please?
I'll do it.
Thank you.
Okay, The Awakened Brain, Lisa Miller. Each of us is endowed with a natural capacity to perceive a greater reality and consciously connect to the life forces that moves in, through, and around us. Whether or not we participate in a spiritual practice or adhere to a faith tradition, whether or not we identify as religious or spiritual, our brain has a natural inclination toward and docking station for spiritual awareness. The awakened brain is the neural circuitry that allows us to see the world more fully and thus enhance our individual, societal, and global well-being. Keep going?
Yes, please.
I didn't set out to study spirituality per se. My discovery of the awakened brain began with a desire to understand human resilience and help people who were struggling. Bit by bit, striking data points and my patients' stories of hurt and healing helped me to see that spiritual experience was a vital, though overlooked, component of healing. I've discovered that the awakened brain is both inherent to our physiology and invaluable to our health and functioning.
Thank you so much. Appreciate it, Margot. So I think what's being said here, does anybody have a comment on this? Basically, we're hardwired. We're hardwired to seek higher meaning and order. That doesn't have to express itself in God language. But I think that, especially today, we have so many people that say, I'm not religious, but I'm spiritual. while personally I'm not quite sure what that means, I know it means something to the person saying it. They're in touch with a higher power, if you will. By the way, whenever I have to speak in front of a crowd of like secular people, if I say the word God, I know that like everybody turns off. So I never use the word God. I always say your higher power within, and that's like everybody's open for their higher power within, whatever that means.
Rabbi,
Yes.
Rabbi,
Susan.
I've worked with cancer patients for many, many years, and we were part of research groups for support groups and one-on-one support and help, women helping women and that kind of a thing. And they did clinical studies talking about positive thinking and positive support and letting go of toxicity with people or events, but also prayers, the importance of prayers in healing what you're going through. And there's been multiple studies on this and books. So we've seen it with individuals that with their positive outlook and welcoming what's good in life and welcoming the spiritual side and welcoming prayers, that there has been very good outcomes as opposed to the negative of everything.
Very good. Very good. Thank you, Susan. So moving on with who we are, Judaism tells us that learning about God is actually the purpose of existence. If we look at text 2 on page 4, somebody want to volunteer to read it? And whoever volunteers, please read it slowly and enunciate every word, because a lot of people on this call don't have a textbook. So make sure that you're coming across with the words. Who would like to read? Bill.
The entirety of human existence and purpose is to gain intimate knowledge of God's glory and majestic splendor. Each individual, to the extent of their intellectual capacity. The goal is stated in the Zohar. I can't pronounce the rest.
Okay.
God created the world in order that we may know him. I apologize for not being able to pronounce that correctly.
That's all right. That's for professionals. So we're talking about one of the foundational kingpins of the Hasidic movement. His name was Rabbi Shneur Zalman of Liadi, affectionately known as the Alter Rebbe. And what he's saying here, to paraphrase, is that our purpose of life is to know God. If we look at the 10 Commandments, the first commandment, I am the Lord thy God. What is that commandment? There's no explicit commandment with I am the Lord thy God. The implicit statement is that we have a responsibility to get to know God, which is not the easiest thing in the world to do, obviously. But what we're trying to do is we're trying to establish a relationship, just like when you meet somebody and you want to get to know them better, you go through a process of getting to know each other. And that's what this class is all about, is getting to know the other entity in this relationship. So lastly, we may believe in our heart and in our soul in God, but at the same time, our minds, our rational minds may be far behind that. We can believe, yet not understand what it is that we believe. And we can't articulate it, not just to other people, we can't articulate it to ourselves. And this is a very relevant reason for studying God also. Because if we can articulate to ourselves, it helps us with our own belief. It's sort of giving intellectual clarity to something that otherwise people call a leap of faith. So, yes, being a believer means believing. It means, on a certain level, a leap of faith. But there's also an intellectual component that most people don't really consider. they think this whole thing has to be done like the term, a leap of faith. So studying God gives us intellectual empowerment. Let's look at what Reb Sadia Gaon had to say on text 3, page 5. It's a relatively short one. Who would like to read clearly and slowly text 3 on page 5?
This is Brian.
Read.
I'll go ahead and read.
Okay, Brian.
We engage in philosophic and intellectual probes of the principles of our faith for two reasons. First, to intellectually confirm that which we already know, having been so informed by God's prophets. Second, to empower ourselves to respond to those who take issue with our beliefs.
Thank you, Brian.
You're welcome.
So what we're trying to accomplish, amongst other things, is gain some level of intellectual empowerment. So with that as the marching order, let's start tackling some questions. And these questions that we're going to cover 4 questions tonight. And these are the building blocks that are going to allow us to delve into some heavier stuff as we go on. So the first question that we have about God is, what is God? Which is a pretty big question. I'll let you in a little secret. In Rabbi school, they teach you that when you get a really difficult question, you do one of 2 things. Anybody know what those one of 2 things are?
You keep quiet.
Nah, we're rabbis, you can't.
You ask another question.
Yeah.
We ask a question, yeah, or we tell a story. So here's the story for you.
Story.
Hold on. I'm going to let the narrator tell the story. 1 second. Sure. Everybody see the screen?
Yes.
So, you want to know more about God? Let's start with your current conception of God. Is he a big, mighty guy in the sky, tugging at the puppet strings of the universe? Does he spend his days golfing with the righteous on lush heaven greens? Is he angry and vengeful, or wise and kind? We all have conceptions of God, picked up along our developing years. But before we delve into secrets of God's being, we need to do some inner household cleaning. You see, thousands of years ago, young Abraham had a similar problem. At the time, people were searching for coherence in a universe that seemed random. So they devised an elaborate system of multiple powers, who each were responsible for a different function. If you got the rain god happy, you got more rain. If the sun god was pleased, you got more sun for your crops. Then the wise men decided that each god was associated with a figure and shape, an idol that you could conveniently buy from your local idol shop. And these figurines had the power to grant or deny your deepest needs and wishes. Abraham's father Terah had just such a shop, and he made the mistake of asking Abraham to man the sales floor for a day. An old woman walked in. "Young man, an idol, please, for my arthritis. Which of these gods is good for my knees?" "How old are you?" Abraham asked. 60, replied the woman. "You poor thing," Abraham said. 60 years old and bowing down to an object that was made yesterday. Embarrassed, the woman slinked away. Next, a woman came in with a plate filled with fine flour. "Take this, young man, and offer it to the idols." But Abraham had a different idea. He took a club and smashed all the idols. He then put the club in the hand of the largest idol. When Terah came to the store, he was furious. "What have you done to the idols?" "I must be honest with you," Abraham responded. A woman came with a plate of fine flour and asked me to offer it to them. When I set it before them, one of the idols exclaimed, "I'm starving. I will eat first." Another quickly protested, "No, I will eat first." That started a huge fight. What a scene! The largest idol stood up, grabbed that club, and smashed the rest of them. "Are you mocking me?" Terror shouted. "Do the idols have any awareness?" Abraham smiled. "Exactly." Abraham went on to teach people what God is not. Before humanity could begin to know what God is, they had to unlearn their crooked conception of him. We are not so different from school or from home or from Hollywood. We ingest portraits of God that stay stuck in stone, not growing with us as we mature and our intelligence blossoms. If and when we decide we want to expand our understanding of God, we must first do what Abraham did. We have to unlearn before we learn. Before constructing God, we need to deconstruct.
What do you think of that? It's true with everything in life. Sometimes our knowledge gets in the way of actually learning what's true.
We assume too much, and then we really have to go back and relearn it, or learn it for the first time.
For sure. And it's difficult when the subject matter are things that were drilled into us when we were literally toddlers. And many of us hold on to those childlike notions and images of God and spirituality. An angry God, whatever it is, whatever your parents told you to manipulate you to do what they wanted you to do, that's the image that most of us have of God. So we have to unlearn. We have to, there's a beautiful, a couple of things come to mind. First of all, after the first exile of the Jewish people to Babylonia, when they were able to come back to Jerusalem, excuse me, I got my timing wrong. There was a Jewish, I forgot which prophet it was. He was one of the big ones who lived in Babylon, who lived in Persia, who had mastered the entire Babylonian Talmud. There are two Talmuds. One is called the Babylonian Talmud because it was written in Babylonia, and another was called the Talmud Yerushalmi or Yerushalayim. Somebody? Okay.
Yerushalayim.
Thank you. The Jerusalem Talmud. And they're very similar, but they were different. So this particular sage had learned the entire Babylonian Talmud, no small accomplishment. When he came to Jerusalem, he fasted and he prayed that God should cause him to lose his entire memory of the Babylonian Talmud so he could learn the Jerusalem Talmud. So he understood this concept very well. Another thing that just comes to mind regarding this conversation is it's a story of the Berditchever Rebbe who lived in the early 1800s in no other place other than Berditchev, because whenever a Rebbe's name you can't pronounce, that's the name of the town he came from. So this was the Berditchever Rebbe, and he was a very holy man. And a man came to him who was a devout atheist. And he said, tell me about God, he says to the atheist. And the atheist starts describing all the reasons he doesn't believe in God. And the Berditchever famously says to him, you know what? The God you don't believe in is also the God I don't believe in. So apropos, that really struck a chord with me. So we have to undo our previous concepts in order to learn something. And that's the deeper meaning of the Abraham story. So just like he shattered the idols, we have to shatter some of our preconceived notions. So our question is, what is God? What is God? So that presupposes that God is a what? God is what that can be understood, but that's not even correct. God is not within our reality to grasp. It's not that we're ignorant. We can't study God like we study science. First, we need to shatter the illusion that God is a logical concept to figure out. Because God is essentially unknowable. We can We can only understand things about God, but we can't understand God himself. He's completely beyond our understanding. So you must be wondering, why am I spending my money Monday night on the Zoom call? What are we doing here if we can't know what God is? So I'm sorry about that, but if we can't understand God, again, what's the purpose? While we cannot fathom the true reality of God, there's plenty about God we can discover. And in order to do that, what each of us needs to do is to develop the humility to recognize that God is essentially unknowable. When we approach God, we need to do it from a place of of humility, of humble seeking, as opposed to arrogance and certainty that you know. We don't know. We simply don't know. I want to hear what you guys have to say about that.
I'm thinking of Moses. He was the most humble prophet of all, wasn't he?
For sure, for sure.
And I'm thinking that sometimes when you think you know and you learn and you study, and then you realize that just what you were just saying, that in order to understand what's being presented to you, you just have to forget that. You've got to start from scratch and build up, like you're building up the scaffolding from the ground floor again. And sometimes you have to do that with what you think you know and be open to it.
Very good, Susan. So we have to beware of preconceived notions. They get in the way of truly understanding things.
You know, if I may add to that, I think that's also essentially the difference that we unfortunately come from when we're approaching various fellows of other religions. And I just had the opportunity traveling with many friends to actually sit around a Christian, a Catholic. Sounds like a joke that my brother would say, but it is not a joke. But just last week, and I was traveling in Maui with dear, dear friends of 45 years. First time we actually sat and had a conversation from a Catholic, Jewish, agnostic type perspective. And so I think you're right. It's almost like, I always say leave your ego at the door. It's almost leave your concepts of religion at the door also. And how do you come together and learn from each other?
Oh, that's beautiful. Very strong, very powerful. Anyone else before we move on? All right, let's deal with the second question. We just covered what is God, and we established the fact that we can never truly know what God is, but at least we can approach it in a humble way. And by approaching it in a humble way, we can learn about God. And we're going to go on to discover that one way to learn about God is to learn about ourselves, because the spiritual blueprint that God used to create the universe is the same components that God used to create us and our own souls. So as we learn about ourselves, we're actually learning about God if we plug into that. All right, let's move into the next big question, which is, where is God? Which of course deserves another joke. So the two little town troublemakers, call them Billy and Johnny, 8 and 10 years old, they tear the town apart. Every time something is wrong, the whole town knows who did it. Broken windows, whatever, anything that goes wrong, it's always Johnny and Billy. So the parents don't know what to do. They can't control the kids, so they go to the town rabbi and they say, please put the fear of God into my kids. I can't deal with these kids anymore. So the rabbi puts on his best fire and brimstone kind of face, and he sits down with one of the two brothers, with Billy, in the living room of the parents' home, and he's pounding the table. And in his booming voice, he says, where is God? Where is God? Where is God? And Billy turns totally pale, and he dashes out of the room. He runs upstairs and hides under his brother's bed. And Johnny says, Billy, what happened? I heard all this yelling downstairs. He says, you're not going to believe it. We are in really big trouble. God is missing and they think we took him. L'chaim. All right, I think on your page 13, actually, most of you don't have books. So picture a world. All right, picture the globe. Picture a world on a piece of paper. Everybody got that in mind? You got the world on a piece of paper. Now, write in God. Where is God in that picture? You got the world, you got the paper. Place God somewhere on that paper. You can do it mentally. You don't have to do it physically. So I'd like to hear from you. Where did you place God? Did you place him above the world? Did you place him within the world? Did you place him on the back of the page? Where did you place God? Brian.
I actually couldn't figure out where to place him. So, and I use him loosely. The whole page, I mean, we're all part of God. I mean, you can't get away from the fabric of God. So if I had to put an image here, that's him right there.
So you're saying God is everywhere.
Everywhere.
Okay, God.
We are but little atoms within him.
Okay, you're saying God is everywhere. Anybody saying God is above? Bill, let's hear what you got to say, Bill.
I guess it goes back to 18 years of Catholic education or something, where God is above us in heaven, looking over us. So I'm saying that heaven is above Earth in some solar system.
Okay, so we got a God is everywhere. We got a God is above. Any other hangouts?
I drew it, since you're doing like more like an artistic rendition. I made God as kind of like where the oxygen is, as a fuzzy kind of covering all of around the globe.
Oh, that's pretty. Okay, I like that.
This is my niece. Can you see it? What she did?
Oh,
That's great.
Oh, that's very cool. Give her a job. I like that.
Yeah, She
that's
has a
where
job.
it's the O in the word God.
Nice.
Oh. I pictured God as an overlay. Just
Okay, God is an overlay. Interesting. God is an overlay.
I put it in the center because I just figured radiates.
Okay.
God in the middle
God is in the center.
and radiates.
And to show that, I put God in the middle with arrows up, down, and to the sides.
But you covered all your bases, huh?
Well, but then I started thinking about it. It said the world. So I took it to be this world. I wasn't thinking of the other worlds, which I know you'll get into.
You think?
Yeah.
All right. So we have basically a few locations for God. We have God is within us. We have God is around us. We have God is above us. We have God is everywhere. Let's go back to Scripture. Let's look at Deuteronomy on page 13, text 7. I'll read it. Book of Deuteronomy says, gaze down from the heavens, your holy dwelling place, and bless your people Israel. So that gives a lot of credence to the fact that God is above us in heaven. Now let's turn to the prophet Isaiah on page 14. And what does Isaiah say? He says, holy, holy, holy is the God of the heavenly hosts. The entire world is filled with his glory. So now we have God in Jewish scripture, in the 5 books of Moses. They can't make up their minds. Is he above? Is he within? Which is it? Which resonates with you more? He's in heaven or he's everywhere? So what's the downside of saying that God's in heaven?
Because he's not on earth.
He's removed.
You have to believe in heaven.
Oh.
So could you say that if we say that God is only in heaven, then we're limiting God? We're saying he's there, he's not here.
There's a phrase that I keep reading about in my side studies, and I'm not sure if I'm going to pronounce it correctly or not, but dealing with the Kabbalist movement. Simsum?
Seems soon, yeah, very good.
Yeah, but the shrinking of, and that's why I was saying before God is everywhere, because he created everything. So
Okay, so
and
Brian
he did,
brought up,
and he did shrink himself so we could be part of it.
very good. We're not going to dwell on Brian's point because that really is a 6-week course by itself. Just that one word, seems soon. So in the interest of time, we're going to keep moving, but
That's
if
fine.
we have time at the end, I'd love to come back and at least address some of the points. But the point is that we're making here is that if we're saying that God is only in a specific place and not here, then implicitly we're saying he's not here. But the truth is that saying God is everywhere is just as limiting as saying that God is somewhere else. Huh? What does that mean? If we say God is everywhere, that's also putting a limit on God. Does anybody see it?
Yeah, yeah.
No. Everywhere is everywhere.
Yeah, but it presumes that there is an everywhere and that everywhere contains God. This place called everywhere contains God.
Right.
If we say that God fills all space, it's limiting God. That space is the original given reality and that God then fills that space. First, there's something called space, and then God fills it. That's a limitation. We're putting a limit on God. Space is more prominent than God.
Is that because God comes first before there is space or everywhere in the world?
Chapter 1, verse 1, God creates space. The two things God invented on day one were time and space. Excuse me, he created space on day one. So to say that God is everywhere, that God is in space, we're giving space prominence over God.
Yeah.
So it's not correct to say that first comes space and then comes God. This renders space more essential than God. So we need to rethink the whole thing altogether.
We have to think about different realities that we don't know about or we don't recognize, that there's could be a different form of space that we don't know about. We just.
All right, let's try it right now. Let's try something new right now. Take everything out of your minds if that's possible to do. God does not fill all space. God is the space that is filled by everything else. And this is not semantics. This is not semantics.
Can you repeat it?
God is the space that is filled by everything else. God holds everything else. Everything in the universe God holds within God and enables it to exist.
Different dimensions.
I don't know what that means, different dimension.
I don't either, but it sounded good. You know, I go to bed at 8 o'clock, Rabbi.
I don't want to move on until we really get this. I don't want to move on until we really get this.
Okay, so let me try. Oh, were you going to say something?
Oh, go ahead.
All right. So you said God is a space that is filled by everything else. So does that mean the pen that I'm holding, essentially, that God is within this, and this is an object of God in a sense? The tree outside, the leaves, everything, God is totally emanated through that whole structure.
Yes. In other words, it isn't as though the deists believe that God created the heavens and the earth. They're okay with that. But then, just like a Swiss watchmaker who made a beautiful, precise clock, wound it up and stuck it in a cave and went and did something else. That's what the deist believes. The Jew believes, and I'm pretty sure the Christian believes, in fact, I know the Christian believes, that the creation was not a one-time event. Creation is continuous. God is continually creating the universe. If he takes the blue pen in my sister's hand, if he decides for that not to exist, all he has to do is not focus on my sister's pen and it won't be in her hand anymore. It will disappear. What am I saying? I'm saying that everything, whatever you call a thing in the universe, has a spark of godliness in it. So with that concept in mind, it means that a rock has a soul. A rock has a soul, albeit not the same kind of soul that a human has. A vegetable has a soul. A
But it's
mineral
also
has a soul. Cindy.
it's also like an infinite amount when he holds everything, as opposed to saying, whoops, I lost it. Did you lose me there? My phone.
I'm with you.
Okay. Where was I? With the thought like God is everywhere, I think of that as like a finite amount. But when you say that God like holds everything, like he's like we're in the palm of his hand, so to speak, then
Yeah.
that seems more like an infinite amount to me.
Yeah, for sure. For sure.
So like logically, I can see what you're saying.
Well, that's good. I'm glad somebody is. This stuff is far out stuff. This is really far out stuff.
It is.
Anybody want to push back, or does anybody want a further explanation? Anybody want to refute what I'm saying?
Well, I'm just thinking as a vegetarian, I'm not a vegetarian, but vegetarians, would they even eat a vegetable if they thought it had a soul? They won't eat animals or fish because it's a living thing. What would we eat? What would we consume? How would we thrive, sustain ourselves if we would consume something else that has a soul in it?
I'm gonna kind of hinge on what Brian said. I think you said something about atoms moving around and that energy that is in the atoms.
Yes.
So even though something is not alive, it still has atoms that are moving that have energy. Like that rock has like go to a science. You can explain actually what Judaism is with science in that moment, because the energy of the rock is scientific in the atoms, but you could say that is God's energy.
Amen.
Yeah,
I'm satisfied with that one. I'm satisfied with that. So
I think Einstein kind of elaborated on that a little bit too, because he was so into science and, Judaism, of course, but he always believed that science came first. So that he would probably chime in with our conversation right now if he were with us today. At least I'd like to think so.
Yeah, very good. Very good. So let's not get hung up on the semantics to say that a rock has a soul. It has a life force. If you want to call it a soul, you can call it a soul. There's a life force in a soul. There's godliness in a soul that is making, there's godliness in a rock. There's a godly spark in a rock that is continually creating it as a rock. God invests himself in the universe using two different methods. One method is in an expansive surrounding way. It's like radiation. It surrounds us and he radiates his, I'm going to use metaphor and anthropomorphism, although somebody said they don't like anthropomorphism. That was Margot. So he radiates everything equally into the universe and gives us life. But there's a second way that God relates, and that is by investing himself into each creation exactly the degree of life force that they need to sustain themselves as they are. Meaning that every blade of grass has a godly element in it that's causing it to grow. And every pachyderm, anybody know what a pachyderm is? I don't know.
Elephant?
I don't know why I know that, but
An elephant?
yeah, I don't know how I know that. I'm channeling whatever.
Am I right?
Yeah, it's an elephant.
That's what my father told me that. Okay.
So he's giving the exact amount of life force that an elephant needs to be an elephant. And now we are so far off, I don't even know where we are.
Rabbi,
Bring it back, somebody.
so everything is in constant evolution? Because everything, it's constantly evolving?
Okay, so now, so what Susan is doing, what we're all doing, was trying to grasp a concept. The concept is that God is the space that's filled by everything else. Now, each of us in our own way needs to digest that. If you are into organized religion, as opposed to me, because I'm into disorganized religion, but if you're into organized religion and you have a spiritual mentor, a priest, a rabbi, whatever it is, talk to him about this issue. And if you're of another religion, I would love for you to come back and say what that expert has to say on the subject. If we look at the Midrash, as long as we're on the subject, the Midrash in text 9, page 14 says, God is the space of the universe is not the space of God. The universe is not God's space. That would imply that the universe came first. Rather, God is the space within which the universe exists, which begs the question, where is God? That's the question we started out with, and now we're back to our original question, where is God? God is the everywhere within which existence exists. Are you guys, like in the cartoons, are your eyes rolling like this right now?
Yeah.
No, it's like he's all encompassing, right?
Yeah, yeah.
It's almost like you can't really put it into words. You've got to have I'm sorry.
Keep going.
Like, you can't really put it into words who God is or where God is or what God is, because God is a spirit or a thought, or it's like, I think there is something besides space and time, and you can't really describe it. If you start to put it into words, it goes flat.
Very good, Glad. What you're talking about is the inability of a finite creature to understand infinitude. We're standing on the finite side of existence trying to understand the infinite. Really, really hard to do, which is why we have to go back to the first instruction of this evening, which is we need to approach this all with humility. Nonetheless, we read in scripture just now in the book of Deuteronomy, two different ways in which we perceive God. One is above us, transcending us completely beyond us. The other is within us, within all of creation. I like personally what the Kotzker Rebbe said. Could somebody tell me where the Kotzker Rebbe was from?
Kotzker.
Very good. He was from Kotsk. You guys really learn well. The Kotzker Rebbe asked, where is God? And how did he answer? God is wherever you let him in. That's the takeaway from of the question, where is God? Because at the end of the day, we're not philosophers and we're not Einstein. And Einstein was as much of a child on this subject as we all are.
But what you said to me, that God is, if I have it right, God is the everywhere in which everything exists.
Yes.
That's to me the epitome of describing it.
Okay, then you're like head and shoulders above me. Well, you are.
Well, I'm not, but
sister.
But I mean, from everything that we've said tonight, it almost, that to me encapsulates it.
Okay.
But I don't know if it does to anyone else. That's what resonates to me.
Okay, so let's all of us hold on to this concept and play with it and see where we end up with it. But in the meantime, again, I'm going to go back to humility. The Kotzker Rebbe said, where is God? It's wherever you let him in. The one thing that God can't do for us is to choose to let him in. Only we can do that. Only we can choose to let him in. He can't choose to let us let him in. Anybody want to mix a martini or something? Everybody okay? Are we good? Should we continue? Yeah?
Yes.
All right, let's move on. Next question. How did God come to be? How did God come to be? Let me explain the premise of the question. Everything in our created reality comes from something else. The fact that something exists means that something caused it. That's the basic rule of
And I mean,
cause and effect, right?
yeah.
That's what cause and effect is. Everything that we can perceive, everything that we can conceive has a cause and has an effect. So based on the fact that that's our experience of everything in the universe, we might conclude that the same is true of God. That God's existence indicates a prior cause. Hence the question, where does God come from? Anybody read Stephen Hawking's, the astronomer, the brilliant genius guy? He wrote A Brief History of Time. Mind-blowing stuff. I don't think it was in that book, but it was somewhere else. He said that once he gave a lecture on astronomy. This guy is brainiac, Shiva brainiac, huge brain. So he gave a lecture on astronomy. And at the end of the lecture, it's a true story, at least according to him, it's a true story. This little old lady stands up in the class and she says, "This is rubbish. The world is really a flat plate on the back of a on the back of a giant turtle." So Hawking decides he doesn't want to embarrass her, but he wants to call her out. So he says, "All right, ma'am, if that's true, then what does that turtle stand on?" The lady says, "That's a good question. But this turtle stands on the back of an even bigger turtle." And of course, he says, "And what does that turtle stand on?" And she says, "It's no use, sir. It's turtles all the way down." So if we wind back existence to God, great. But then where does God come from? So here's the Jewish perspective. God is fundamentally different than everything else in existence. Everything else is an effect of a prior cause. We call this contingent existence. I defy you to point out one existence that is not contingent upon something that precedes it. Whereas God is not the product of other factors or forces. God simply is. To illustrate this, let me ask you a couple of questions. Who invented the iPhone? This is not a trick question. Carol?
Steve Jobs.
Steve Jobs. Very good, very good. All right, let's go for double jeopardy. Who gave us the light bulb?
Edison.
Wow.
Tesla.
Who developed, what did you say?
Well, Tesla was in there too, you know.
Susan, I tell the jokes around here. Don't forget
Okay,
that.
that's right.
There was a Tesla.
I know.
Number 3, who developed the airplane?
Wright brothers.
Wright brothers. Very good, very good. Nothing strange about these questions, right? All right, here's a question for you. Who invented the equation 2 + 2 = 4?
No clue.
It's tricky.
The Egyptians.
It's a nice wild guess, but you'd get thrown off the Jeopardy show. You wouldn't win the grand prize.
I did.
Oh, Brian, I like it. No one invented 2 + 2 + 4. Why? because that formula is embedded in the natural universe. It's not the product of an invention. It's simply true. God is not the product of a cause or an inventor. God simply is. Anything that's a creation is not essential. But God has no outside cause.
I'm sorry, will you please just repeat what you just said?
I have no idea what I just said.
Anything that is not
Anything that's not a creation, by definition, is not essential. I'm sorry. Now I'm confused. Anything that is a creation, anything that was created is not essential. I like to think I'm essential, but if I'm gone after 120, the world will probably keep spinning the same way it's spinning right now. I'm not essential.
No. In the big scheme of things.
Can't reach
Thank you, Glad. Thank you. On the other hand,
Rabbi,
yeah.
Wade just brought up geometry.
Uh-oh, I'm in big trouble if Wade brought up geometry.
Yeah. So he has a question. He wanted me to ask it, but I can't read his writing. So you ask.
Go ahead, Wade, hit me.
Since God gave man the ability to make the decision, man determines whether God is in or out, and good or bad. Each individual has to come up with their own individual concept of what is life.
I'm not sure that I fully understand your question, or your statement, excuse me. But I will say that what's true is true, what's not is not, and there's no such thing as relative. Either things are or they aren't. We can walk around thinking that we're right. It doesn't mean we're right.
Yes.
God is absolute and essential. He has no outside cause. There's this enigmatic dialogue that you're all familiar with, or most of you are familiar with, between Moses and God at the burning bush. Remember that, the Cecil B. DeMille movie? Charlton Heston? Yeah, you remember that? Burning bush? God tries to convince Moses to take the job as the hero of the Jewish people, right? But Moses just ain't feeling it. It's not there for him. So Moses says to God, even if I would take the gig, the people would ask me for God's name, which I don't understand why. Like, I wouldn't ask Moses what's God's name, but whatever, let's go with it. Scripture says that Moses says that people would ask me, what's God's name? What'll I say? What'll I say when somebody asks me, what's your name? Let's turn to text 10a on page 17.
I am what I am.
Very good. Who said that? Who said that?
Norm?
Who said I am what I am?
Norm.
I did.
He's right here.
I'm guilty. I'm sorry.
Move to the left. Oh.
Norm. Hey, Norm, how you doing?
All right. And how are you, Rabbi Yonatan?
Baruch Hashem, I'm sorry about Lulu.
Yeah.
Sad day, I'm sorry.
Sad.
Yeah.
Sad.
We'll tell our daughters.
Okay, so text 10a in the book of Exodus on page 17 says, Moses said to God, when I come to the children of Israel and inform them, the God of your fathers has sent me to you, they will respond, what is his name? What should I tell them? And God replies in text 10b.
I am.
God replied to Moses, Yeh asher yeh.
I will be what I will be.
Oh, right.
What kind of name is Yeh?
Be instead of I am. I will be what I will be.
Very good. In the language of, in the lashon of Popeye, I am what I am. Remember Popeye?
Will be.
I am what I am. Yeh means I exist.
Will be.
God is telling Moses to tell the people that. He's telling the people, I exist because I exist. And that's really only something that God can say. Everything else exists due to a certain cause except for God. Who wants to read text 11 from Maimonides? Maimonides, FYI, was an 11th century rabbi and physician, all outstanding guy. If there was a Jewish all-star team, he would definitely make it to the all-star team. I can't guarantee you he'd be a starter, but he's right up there. So this is what he had to say in his famous book called The Guide to the Perplexed. Who wants to read text 11, page 18?
It starts with this phrase.
Sorry? Yes, this phrase.
This phrase conveys that God's existence is not an ordinary existence. We could summarize the concept as such. God is the existence that exists. In other words, he is an essential and absolute rather than a contingent existence.
Thank you, Lori. All right, so we've just addressed 3 questions, and the one thing I know about everybody on this call, nobody's really satisfied with any of the answers. And I want to tell you that it doesn't get any better than this. You're going to continue to be frustrated with the answers. But remember, we have a commitment to be humble and to live in the question. Let's move on to the 4th question and the last question for the evening. Apropos for the times that we live in. Does God have a gender? What are God's pronouns? That's the question. What are God's pronouns? The reality is that God obviously is beyond physical terms. So of course, God is beyond gender. To be more specific, he's genderless, non-binary, to be precise. But it's also true that Scripture uses gendered pronouns in referencing God. Most often, God is referred to using masculine terms, our Father, our King. And in fairness, there's also feminine terms used. We say the Shabbat.
Shabbos.
Yeah, exactly, the Shabbat Queen. Or the Shechina. Shechina is hard to translate in English. If you were to translate it, you would say the Holy Spirit, but it's a different concept than the Holy Spirit is in Christianity. Nonetheless, the reason I'm bringing it up is to say that God is referred to as both genders throughout Scripture, but predominantly the male. So why is that? The cynical answer, of course, is because men wrote the Bible, so therefore everything is masculinized. But that's let's go to the heart of the issue. So we could ascribe it to the fact that Hebrew, all nouns must be gendered. Unlike English, there's no such thing as, there's no gender in English. We don't use genders. We do in Spanish. We do in Hebrew. All nouns must be gendered. And the default for gender neutral is always the masculine, which is probably a very sexist thing, but that's what it is. But anyway, it's irrelevant because that's really not a satisfying answer. So let's go a little deeper than just talking about grammar. The intention of Scripture is not to ascribe literal gender to God, but rather the conceptual features of gender. What do I mean? Let's look at the Torah's account of creation of mankind. Let's look at text 12 on page 20.
Let's see so
Book of Genesis. Book of Genesis. God created the human in his image. In the image of God, he created him. Male and female, he created them. So he made female and he made male in his image. So how could he make them in his image if he did not have both a masculine and feminine component? Again, this is not to say that God is masculine or feminine. He's beyond all this. But that God possesses both spiritual qualities. So what are the male and female spiritual qualities? What are the male-female gender qualities? So we see distinct roles between feminine and masculine. The masculine role is to, in procreation, for example, is to provide the seed. The feminine role is to receive the seed and then to develop it into something. And this closely parallels our relationship with God. God is the provider of life and sustenance. He's the giver of the seed. And we are the recipients of life and of sustenance. And we're charged with, sorry?
Is it chair?
And we're charged to use God's gifts appropriately. So it makes sense to refer to God in the masculine because we recognize where our gift of life is coming from. Are we still here? Are we our heads like this or our heads in the pillow? Yeah.
We're here.
Still good? Okay, we're going to wrap this up in the next few minutes. Bottom line, don't take life for granted. Recognize that it's a gift from God, and let's make the most of it with gratitude, with appreciation. So again, we're talking about humility, gratitude, appreciation, recognizing that there's some things that are beyond us. So today we did actually try to tackle 4 very important questions about God. We understand that we'll never be able to fully grasp and explain the what of God, what God is, because God transcends the mind. The best we can do is to be open to understanding what we can about God, to try to get what we can in a humble way. Also, God does not exist within existence. God is the very fabric of existence. All of existence exists within God. And I just feel intuitively, I can't tell you this for sure, but intuitively I feel that what we just discussed in terms of this construct does not contradict anything in any religion. I don't think it contradicts anything in Christianity, for example. The fact that in Christianity, I can't speak about Christianity universally, but Bill made the point that God is above. And I don't think that this construct of God is the very fabric of creation doesn't prevent us from perceiving him as above or him wanting to be perceived at certain times as above. Next, God does not come from another source. God simply is. And we can connect with that absolute reality by connecting with him. And finally, God is not a he is not a she, he is not a they. God doesn't have a gender, but God is certainly the giver of all of our blessings. And for that, we should be eternally, humbly grateful. Any questions?
Yeah, many.
Okay, let's start with one.
I just trouble wrapping this Irish head around God's existence, but space is the existence in God. And so I'm just trying to work through all of that.
So apropos, Brian brought up a point earlier, and let's spend just a couple of minutes because I do want to play the closing video for you. Let's take a couple of minutes. Before God created the universe, even when I use the word before, it's not appropriate because before God created the universe, that was before he created time and space. So how could there be a before? But just go with me on this anyway, because otherwise we'll make ourselves Meshuggah. And if you don't know what Meshuggah is, you do know what Meshuggah is because it's crazy. It's crazy making. So I'm gonna state this in what may sound like irreverent terms, anthropomorphic terms, but I'm trying to paint a picture for you. Before God created the heavens and the earth, he woke up one morning and he had a certain itch. He had, for some reason, a desire to create us, and put us in a situation where we would have total free choice to run amok, to see if we would run amok or if we would turn this jungle into a garden. And that's what he created. Everything else is secondary. Everything else is not for that purpose. The fact that he created Jupiter, the fact that he created solar systems way beyond the Milky Way doesn't make them greater than us. It makes them the means by which he created us. And how did he do this? How do you take infinitude and make it finite? How do you do that? You do it through a series of contractions. by contracting and condensing and contracting and condensing to a point where you're ready to create a universe. And when you create the universe, the very next level is actually a carbon copy of what's above it, except it's a copy. And that's called the world of Atzilut, or the world of emanation. That world is emanating what's above it. And there's a little bit of a glimmer of something called time and space, but it's not, if you're hanging out in this world called Atzilut, you can't really get what it is. You can't even get who you are. There's just the faintest ability to understand that there's a me. Sort of like holding a match next to a raging fire. That match becomes subsumed in the fire. It loses its entire identity. Well, if God wanted to create this world where we have free choice, he could not stop at that highest world called Atzilut, because there would be no fun. He wouldn't be able to do what he wants to do. He wouldn't be able to create this experiment. Again, I'm using irreverent terms and I'm using inaccurate terms, so don't hold me to the terms I'm using. And below that, he creates another world called Bria, where things have a little more definition. And below that, he creates another world called Yetzirah. And you got angels flying around and all these kind of single purpose beings that are out there doing God's bidding for them with no free choice. Angels don't have free choice. And then he comes down to the earth and he creates us. And he says, I wonder how these people are going to choose. Are they going to find me? I'm going to go play hide and seek, and I hope they find me. It's 8:59. I have so many more things to say, but I'm going to hold right now. And I'm going to play the closing video. This wraps up what we discussed this evening.
Lesson 1, the basics. 1. Asking questions about God is not a sign of weakness in belief. Even the ardent believer must do so in an attempt to gain deeper understandings of God. It is important that our relationship with God encompasses our totality, and that our minds should understand what our souls naturally feel. 2. Many of our conceptions of God are incorrect and even childish. Like Abraham long ago, we need to first unknow the God of our current perception before we can gain an accurate understanding of the divine. 3. Although we can know much about God, he himself is unknowable. The essence of idolatry is the attempt to concretize God and fit him within a familiar framework to create a God in our own image. 4. In Jewish sources, we find depictions of God being located above in the heavens, and we are also told that God is everywhere. While these are both true from a certain perspective, there's a deeper reality. God contains the world, holding all its existence in his space. Everywhere is within God. 5. God's existence is radically different from the existence of all else. All things but God are contingent existences, brought into being by a cause, and by definition, they need not exist. God is a necessary existence, an existence that must be, and therefore has no cause. 6. On an essential level, God transcends gender and is non-binary. Yet God manifests himself in both male and female modalities. When we refer to God in masculine terms, we refer to God as manifests or behaves in a masculine manner, i.e., as our provider and husband. Doing so places emphasis on our importance to God and our relationship with him.
All right, so there you have it. I'd like to know from a technical perspective, did anybody have issues logging on? Did anybody have issues hearing? Anybody have suggestions how to make the user experience here any better? Please let me know. And if you
Lori
have,
did a great job. I can't do this.
thank you, Glenn. Thank you, Glenn.
Thank you, Rabbi.
All right, so
Thank you.
I want to thank
Thank
you all very
you.
much. I'm going to be sending out a recap of the class. I won't get to it for a couple of days, but in it, you're going to find a link to a page that has a lot of extra resources. So those of you who are into it, I really encourage you. These are the best and brightest minds in the Jewish world, at least, that are discussing the concepts that we discussed. And it's pretty mind-blowing, at least in my opinion. And then finally, next week, we're going to get into some more questions. We're going to talk about God's nature. Does God have feelings? Does God communicate with us? Does God ever act illogically? Why does God have so many names? In Judaism, I don't know about Christianity. In Judaism, there's a zillion names describing different manifestations of God. And finally, what's up? This is a question I get more than any other question, believe it or not. Why do we write the word God with a hyphenation in it? Why don't we just say G-O-D? So if you want to know the answer to that one, tune in to the same bat time, same bat channel next Monday night. Want to wish everybody a great week. Feel free to be in touch. You all have my number. You can text me. You can do whatever you want. Any closing questions? Nope.
That was a great class. I enjoyed this very much.
Thank you, Glad you come to all my classes. Thank you, Susan. All right. Thank you, everybody. Have a wonderful, wonderful
Thank you.
evening.
Thank you.
And as we say, happy trails. Happy trails.
Thank
Bye, everybody.
Good night.
Night.
Hi.